I was asked once, what is the best romantic comedy? Without having to think too long, I answered Pretty Woman, to which the person who asked responded by saying, the movie about the prostitute? And if you're not deeply familiar with the film, that's a fair response. A movie about a sex worker and the week she spends with a millionaire has the potential to be a very sad story. After all, the prostitute with a heart of gold is a trope that almost never ends well for the woman involved, as established in La Traviata and its modern counterpart, Moulin Rouge. In its conception, Pretty Woman almost followed their example, as it was originally written to be a dark, gritty drama, then titled 3000, in reference to the amount Edward pays Vivian for her services. Luckily, Vestron Pictures, the studio that was set to produce the film, went out of business before that version could come to light. Walt Disney Studios got control of the script and, under Jeffrey Katzenberg's suggestion, brought in Gary Marshall and reworked the story as a modern fairy tale, pitching the film to Touchstone Pictures as a romantic comedy along the lines of Cinderella and My Fair Lady. By turning 3000 into Pretty Woman, the movie literally became a Cinderella story. But while there are hundreds of movies that utilize that trope, few come close to the emotional and cultural impact that is Pretty Woman. So what makes it stand out? Why is this movie considered by many to be one of the best rom-coms of all time? Like its protagonist, Pretty Woman is a film that in its brightest moments sparkles with happiness, bubbles with excitement, and leaves its audience feeling loved and inspired. It's a feel-good movie in the purest sense, defying the danger and hardships of Vivian's circumstance with a resilient joy and the understanding that we are more than what we have been. Much of Vivian's joy can be attributed to Julia Roberts' magnetic performance. Her natural light shines through so brilliantly in this role that it was immortalized in the necklace scene, where Roberts' genuine reaction to Richard Gere's prank on set was so charming it not only made it into the film, but became one of Pretty Woman's most iconic moments. But a charming performance is only part of the equation. The character portrayed needs to be well written and well realized to have such a lasting impact on their audience. Vivian is a prostitute, but she's also silly, charming, and kind. These are gentle traits that she's managed to hold on to despite her circumstances, but are increasingly threatened the longer she stays in this occupation. Let's look first at her sillier side. Throughout the film, there are moments where Vivian comes across as innocent, almost childish in her behavior. From laying sleepover style while cackling at I Love Lucy, to her compulsion to sit on every desk, table, and display case she can find. But where other, flatter takes on the character might limit these actions to that of a manic pixie dream girl or the born sexy yesterday trope, Vivian's depth allows her to skirt such stereotypes. This is where Vivian's lived experiences come through, showing us the serious side of her character. By the very nature of her occupation and through details shared in her backstory, the movie shows us that Vivian isn't innocent. She knows from experience that men can be violent, honest work doesn't always pay, and the world can be deadly for those who get in too deep. In this way, there is a duality to Vivian. The serious, concerned Vivian walking the streets of Hollywood Boulevard, and the joyful, carefree Vivian staying in the penthouse. Both personas are influenced by her environment, and who she's either required to be or allowed to be while navigating those spaces. On the streets, she's guarded, tucking her joy away under the protection of a straight blonde wig and a tough persona. It's an act of self-preservation, later acknowledged during her fight with Edward.
If you were going to tell everybody I'm a hooker, why didn't you just let me wear my own clothes, okay? I mean, in my own clothes, when someone like that guy Stucky comes up to me, I can handle it, I'm prepared.
When Edward meets Vivian, these protective barriers are well established, built out of necessity to help keep her safe. Like with the rule of no kissing on the mouth, They're tools meant to allow sexuality without the risk of vulnerability. A hint of Vivian's lighter self comes through when she's driving the Lotus, after it enables her to distance herself from Carlos and the danger that he poses. But it isn't until they enter the sanctuary of the Beverly Wilshire's penthouse that Vivian starts to let down her guard. The carpet picnic is the first real glimpse of Vivian's joy. She's found herself in a beautiful hotel room where sustenance and comfort are provided by a client with no pressing time limit, expectations, or demands. With Edward on a work call, Vivian settles in front of the TV and, enamored by the classic grape stomping episode, she relaxes and lets herself feel happy. It's the first time in the film she's been comfortable enough to laugh, to be outlandish, loud, and unguarded. And while it's an incredibly endearing moment, it's also an unintentional slip, one they both notice. Edward is visibly charmed and intrigued, drawn again to her light as he was in the car, but Vivian corrects herself. In this occupation, experience has taught her that to openly be yourself is to be vulnerable. So she code switches and slips back into the security of her seductive persona. In order for genuine joy to be felt and expressed between Vivian and Edward, a night in a fancy hotel room isn't enough. This environment is comfortable, but it's yet to prove itself safe. The breakfast scene leads us toward that safety with a gentle display of vulnerability and care. Having just woken up, Vivian comes into the dining room where Edward is at the breakfast table on a call with his lawyer. From the start, her body language is notably different. She appears shy, out of place. Spending the full night with a client is a new experience, and now she's found herself in unfamiliar territory. When she catches Edward's attention, Vivian states the obvious. Red, she admits bashfully. Better, he affirms. This is Vivian the person, not the persona. Someone she herself sees little value in. Edward, on the other hand, has recognized her light and doesn't hesitate to admire it. From a romance perspective, the scene checks several standard boxes. As our leading love interest, Edward shows he's considerate of her needs.
Are you hungry? You must be. Why don't you sit and have something to eat?
And displays his ability to provide for them.
I took the liberty of ordering everything on the menu. I didn't know what you'd like.
This is a place where Vivian doesn't need to worry about having enough money for rent or food. Accepting that here her basic needs are met with consideration and care removes a significant barrier to her happiness. The scene then goes one step further, alluding to the emotional security Edward is also able to provide. Upon learning about his billion-dollar business deal, Vivian is shocked. But instead of responding with disbelief or disdain, she's open, saying,
You must be really smart, huh?
Vivian then goes on to admit her own shortcomings on the subject,
I only got through 11th grade.
displaying both honesty and regret. When she asks him,
How far did you go in school?
there's a genuine sense of earnest correspondence that doesn't assume a severe difference between them or an obvious disparity in his potential response. Edward doesn't imply shame with his answer, nor does he belittle the nature of her question. Instead, he meets Vivian on her level, replying simply,
I went all the way.
This interaction is a necessary step for establishing trust between Edward and Vivian, which is crucial for a romance between them to work. In love stories like this, there is often a power imbalance that must be bridged in order for the main characters to be well matched and therefore well liked by the audience. Edward's wealth and social status give him significant power over Vivian, and while the movie will later show us that Vivian's emotional strength rivals Edward's material worth, the power dynamic still needs to be equalized for them to come together on even terms. As the millionaire CEO, Edward must relinquish power to Vivian in order to make her feel seen and safe enough to open her heart to him. This relinquishing of power actually takes place during their first meeting, and it sets the tone perfectly for their well-balanced dynamic to come. Instead of commanding control over their situation, Edward quickly recognizes Vivian's expertise when it comes to cars and suggests she take the wheel. Vivian, of course, flourishes in this moment, comfortable now that she's in control and delighted to show off her competence, endearing him for the first time to her otherwise hidden joy. Back at the penthouse, Vivian is taking a swim in Edward's bathtub, while he takes another call with Stucky. They've already said their goodbyes and are meant to part ways, but it is here that Edward decides he wants Vivian to stay. And it's no coincidence that it's during this moment when Vivian's unfiltered joy is on full display. Alone in the bathroom, Vivian feels comfortable enough to fully relax, safe enough even to sing along with her music without the compulsion to have to sing well. This isn't just Vivian, this is happy Vivian, someone so truly herself it draws Edward to her like a moth to a flame. Edward sees her joy, admires it, and asks her to stay the week. In his memoir, My Happy Days in Hollywood, Gary Marshall says, "To have a great line is nice, but to have a strong and memorable reaction is even better." There are two Julia Roberts reactions in this scene that shine with pure joy and command admiration. First is her reaction to his offer.
I'm going to be in town until Sunday. I'd like you to spend the week with me.
Really?
Yes.
A small, bubbling excitement that doesn't yet dare to break through. They discuss the terms of the agreement, barter briefly, and when Edward accepts, we get this moment.
Holy shit!
She laughs, she celebrates, she giggles. This is the prospect of prolonged comfort, provided in tandem with the promise of physical and financial security. Beautiful things she sampled last night but didn't dare indulge, knowing full well in the morning they'd be taken away. But now, with their terms set and the price agreed upon, Vivian has secured a temporary sanctuary, where for 7 days, her needs will be met, her comfort ensured, and her joy encouraged to shine. And my God, does it shine. A less impactful film might stop there, going only as deep as surface-level satisfaction. If we focus solely on this idea of comfort and the happiness it can provide, Pretty Woman would be no more than an escapist fantasy, featuring an 80s fashion montage, beautiful jewelry, and a private jet to San Francisco. These are material luxuries, but of all the gifts Edward bestows on Vivian, it's the emotional support and encouragement they give to one another that carries the most value. During their time together, several important changes take place. Vivian discovers her self-worth, Edward becomes emotionally available, and they fall in love. While lying in bed during the pillow talk scene, Vivian shares her backstory. We learn that her mother put her down from a young age, that she was abandoned by the boyfriend she followed to California, and that any honest work she could find didn't pay enough to get by.
That's when I met Kit. She was a hooker and made it sound so great. So one day I did it.
She could be so much more.
People put you down enough, you start to believe it.
I think you are a very bright, very special woman.
Edward's words of affirmation are so important for her to hear, but it's not until their last day together that Vivian truly takes them to heart. By then, they've both broken the rules. They've kissed, Vivian confessed her feelings, and together they've crossed the line from simply enjoying the comfort of each other's company to genuinely caring for one another's happiness and well-being. But while Edward offers to get Vivian off the streets with a condo and a credit card, his proposal is still stuck on the material and lacks the emotional commitment she requires to accept.
I want you to understand. I heard everything you said. This is all I'm capable of right now. It's a very big step for me.
You made me a really nice offer. And a few months ago, no problem, but now everything is different and you changed that and you can't change back. I want more.
If this thing between them was simply about comfort, about being provided for, Edward's offer might have been enough. But over the course of the film, they've moved beyond that. With love and with encouragement, now they both need to strive for something deeper. It's not just about surviving anymore. Vivian is ready to step into her potential, and in order to do so with Edward, she needs him to do the same. The progress he's made thus far is significant. It's also all thanks to Vivian. Her kindness inspired Edward to question the brutal nature of dismantling James Morris's company. Her compassion helped him confront the resentment he still harbored towards his father. And with her parting words, Vivian affirms his potential, expressing her belief in him as he did for her.
I think you have a lot of special gifts.
When the rewrite of the script was pitched, executives wanted something akin to My Fair Lady. But where Eliza Doolittle is the only one expected to change, Pretty Woman improves on its inspiration. By the end of the film, Edward wants to be worthy of Vivian. He scraps the billion-dollar deal last minute, deciding instead to partner with Morse, not only protecting the older man's legacy, but laying the foundations for his own. Now, together, they can build something again. With Stuckey fired and a positive business partnership in place, Edward changes his plans. Instead of going to the airport, he goes after Vivian. Arriving outside her apartment, opera music blaring, an umbrella drawn in an 80s recreation of her childhood dream. By climbing the fire escape, Edward defies both his fear of heights and emotional commitment, meeting Vivian on the steps where they share one of the best lines of the movie.
So what happened after he climbed up the tower and rescued her?
She rescues him right back.
Cementing the heartwarming beauty of their romance in the equality of their love. In his autobiography, Wake Me When It's Funny, Gary Marshall is quoted saying, "I always wanted to direct positive, uplifting films that reached for the heart rather than the mind, the emotions rather than the intellect. I liked romantic and sentimental film and movies that could be classified under the heading gentle hilarity. I knew I wasn't cut out to be an avant-garde director who shot Freudian moments or used snow as an existential metaphor. I wanted to make films that celebrated the human spirit and highlighted the good in human beings through both comedy and drama." Of all his movies, Pretty Woman embodies this sentiment in nearly every scene. It's genuinely funny and sweet and romantic and so positively feel-good, it's proven its own joyful resilience for almost 40 years. And with that infectious joy, the movie goes one step further, expanding its message of inherent worth to those outside the central romance. One of the most touching scenes in the film takes place not between the love interests, but between Vivian and Kit, when they're in their apartment at the end of the movie, saying their goodbyes. Vivian gives Kit some of the money. Her friend is surprised, saying,
Whoa, what is this?
It's part of the Edward Lewis Scholarship Fund. We think you got a lot of potential, Kit Luca.
With Kit's reply, we see her change, shifting from their lighthearted banter to an open, hopeful question.
You do? You think I got potential?
Oh, yeah. Don't let anybody tell you different, okay?
That is the true beauty of Pretty Woman. How it shows us again and again that every person has potential, even if we can't see it in ourselves. That with support, love, and encouragement, we can feel safe enough to try, to believe in something better, and step into our potential with unhindered joy. Thank you for watching.